Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel for 6 things that we learned from Chelsea 0, Manchester United 0. One of the most boring games of football I think I've ever witnessed in my life, but for the first time ever, you guys can join me for 6 things we learned with a beer, as I almost spill it down my chin. If you're not yet subscribed to GBFC, please be sure to do so. I hope that not every game this season from now until the end is going to finish 0-0. And if you could also hit the like button, despite how boring a game of football that was, I would be forever grateful. I did my first watch along today in quite some time, in maybe like 6 or 7 months or so. And yeah, there was a lot of you in there. It was a really, really good time, but it was one of those games where you watch Manchester City yesterday. I hate to compare it to matches that have already been and gone. Man City versus West Ham. West Ham, having a very good season. They're in the top 4. Did very well yesterday against Man City. However, 2 Manchester City goals from 2 Manchester City centre-backs win the game for Manchester City. You then look at both of these 2 sides today. One of them are in second in the table, Manchester United, City's local rivals, and Chelsea, a team who are looking for the top 4 again this season. And neither of those 2 sides out there today looked even like Man City are a class above the rest of the sides in this Premier League. And I got so excited in the build-up to today's game. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad we didn't lose. United are a good side. They're now 20 games unbeaten away from home in the Premier League. But we should have done so much more in this game. And I think the most frustrating thing for me is that I was watching it, and as soon as I saw it, 5 minutes into the game, if you watch the stream, you guys will know that I said within 5 minutes, I could see that the way the 2 sides were lined up, the banks of players, the blue against the red, I could tell that it was going to be near impossible for Chelsea to create chances. And I think the attempt stat in this game is one of the most ludicrous stats I've ever seen in my life. Chelsea had 16 attempts, but it honestly felt like we had about 2 or 3, because every time we did have a shot, it was a pop shot from the edge of the area. We didn't create any real proper chances, apart from Ziyech's real chance in the beginning of the second half, which was a good save from De Gea. Ziyech should have done better. This game was just crying out for a bit of quality. I think United had the players to be able to bring that kind of quality out. Thought that Callum Hudson-Odoi coming off was a shame, because I actually thought he looked bright. Reece James comes on, puts in some lovely crosses. But again, it's too little, too close, too far and not close enough. But anyway, we got to get into the boxes, and we start with box number 1. And it is a red box for Hakim Ziyech. It was one of the most frustrating performances from Ziyech today. In the first half, he kept getting the ball, and the problem is, and this is what I noticed after 5 minutes, when Hakim Ziyech did get the ball, he was never in a position where Chelsea players like Giroud and Mount were in more offensive positions for him to be able to make a pass to put us into better attacking positions. Every pass that Ziyech made either didn't make its man or got intercepted by a Manchester United player, because the players that were further ahead of him weren't in sync with what Ziyech was trying to do. We know that he's got that moment of brilliance. He's got that moment of magic, but he just wouldn't connect with any of his Chelsea teammates today. And I'm actually surprised that it took 76 odd minutes to actually bring Ziyech off. I thought he could have come off at half-time. I thought he just looked off the pace out there. And yeah, it's a little bit unfair, because he's not been getting as many minutes. He's not been starting games, and he's struggled to make any kind of leeway in this Thomas Tuchel side. But Tuchel gives him the start today, and for me, he didn't vindicate it whatsoever. He didn't show me anything today to suggest that he should be starting matches moving forward. And I think it's a shame that Kai Havertz was still on the bench, and towards the end, where, again, we're not creating any real chances, Ziyech, he lasts 78 minutes on the field. Havertz is there on the bench. I think in terms of the shape of the Chelsea team today, defensively as a unit, solid, brilliant. I thought it was fantastic. But going forward, we certainly lack creativity. And I think today we really saw, particularly when Callum Hudson-Odoi came off at half-time, we saw that having too many defensive named players in this starting 11 makes it incredibly hard for us to create chances. But I move into 2 green boxes in a row. And I've given both greens, box 2 and 3, one to Rudiger and one to Andreas Christensen. Normally, when it's players in the same position, I just simply merge them together. But because there was really nothing to talk about in this game, I firstly want to speak about Rudiger. And there were moments today where in the stream, you guys were saying Rudaldo or Rudaldinho. And there were moments where we thought that Zuma run against Ajax in the Champions League, you know, that crazy one that really got us going at the beginning of that second half. The most exciting moments of the day today were Rudiger trying to be like Zuma, who was trying to be like Ronaldinho, who was trying to be like, I don't know, to be honest. It was entertaining at times, but I genuinely believe that Rudiger, since coming back into the side, I think Rudiger's very much a confidence player. You know, when he's coming in and out of the team, he makes those mistakes. At the moment, he is very much a part of Tuchel's plans. Tuchel's backing him to play in that left centre-back role every single game. And I thought he was very impressive again tonight. He made some good blocks, good tackles, tried to get forward. And the passing that I've often said that isn't quite as good as some other defenders we have at the club, Rudiger's passing today I thought was very good. He tried to split the lines. He tried to get the ball over the top so that we could actually get crosses into the box. And I thought that Rudiger was very good. Box number 3, Christensen again in the centre of the defence. I thought he marshalled the back line superbly. In a game where, although it was very boring to the naked eye to watch, as a football fan, I can appreciate the tactical battle that went on. Neither side really wanted to lose. They knew that losing the game would put so much at stake for both Chelsea chasing the top 4, United trying to consolidate their place in the top 4 and somehow try and keep up with Manchester City, which is near impossible. But, you know, I think today both sides were too reluctant to really go for anything, which really made the defensive performances stand out. You know, Reece James puts in the cross and Victor Lindelof gets in a huge tackle to deny Werner a clear goal scoring opportunity towards the end. Christensen and Rudiger, I thought, were Chelsea's best players out there today. We move into box number 4, and it has to be a red box again for incisiveness. I find it absolutely baffling that game by game, I'm sat here, even when we win, I'm saying that we need to be far more clinical. We need to be far better at completing those passes in the final third. Today, Chelsea might have had 16 attempts on goal, but how many of them do you really feel were of note? How many of them do you think really tested De Gea? Most of them were just dribbling up and De Gea grabs it together. The Ziyech chance should have been the one that won us the game. And if we'd have sat here with a 1-0, I'd have probably still been saying that it was a very boring game of football, but at least we come away with 3 points. The best chance of the game was in the 50th minute. Ziyech gets a shot, Chilwell with the cross. Ziyech pretty much hits it straight at David De Gea. He hits it hard, so De Gea only gets a palm on it, but it was nowhere near clinical enough. And I think overall, Chelsea need to be far more incisive. The chances we create need to be more clear-cut, and then we need to be clinical when we get in the final position. Box number 5, it's one thing to sing his praises when he scores overhead kicks in midweek, and Olivier Giroud was fabulous against Atletico, but tonight I didn't see enough. And I think again, we saw that a lot of the time his movement saw him actually behind the ball when Hakim Ziyech was further ahead of him or when Mason Mount was further ahead of him. And they wanted Olivier Giroud to be further forward. You know, United were pressing us incredibly high. And I feel as though I've given Giroud a yellow because I think this was the wrong game for him today. I think if we started with Timo Werner, with United trying to press, Chelsea had opportunities where runs in behind would have worked so good. Yet Olivier Giroud's not that guy to make runs in behind. So Timo Werner probably would have been a better option. But, you know, it is what it is. We can all sit here and analyse things. We can all sit there and watch the game from the sidelines and say, oh, that would have been better. That would have been better. But then again, Thomas Tuchel's now gone 9 games unbeaten. We draw 0-0 with United for a second time this season. And box number 6, I've given a green to N'Golo Kante. I thought he was good today. I thought going forward he didn't offer very much at all. But the fact that towards the end of the game he made some big blocks. He managed to intercept the ball when United looked like going ahead and scoring late on. There wasn't much to talk about really in this one, but if we would have lost this 1-0, it probably would have been the most depressing 6 things we learned of the season. So I thought, despite a couple of misplaced passes in the first half, I thought Kante looked good again. He looked sharp. He was trying to get all over the shop, and when he was needed in the defensive, I can't even speak here, you know, I'm going to just keep rolling with this one because I've been speaking for the last 2.5 hours or whatever it is on the old live stream. I thought Kante was decent in a game that probably will go down as the most boring Premier League football match I've ever seen in my life. But anyway, if you aren't yet subscribed to GBFC, I'd love to ask you to do so. And if you could hit the like button on today's video, despite the game that we've just witnessed, I would be forever grateful. Make sure you go and check out GBFC Select so that you can sign up to make sure you're ready for next weekend's game. £1,000 to win every single time Chelsea step out on the field. So make sure you're signed up and ready for that one next week. Such a shame that we didn't get the win tonight, and a shame that my voice is absolutely destroyed for a dreadful 0-0 draw. But I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Come on, you Blues.